Hi y'all, welcome to Mike Peace Woodturning. Today we're going to dive into that interesting world of hand thread chasing. If you ever wondered what hand thread chasing is all about, what the mystery is, we're going to talk about that today. You've come to the right place. So why do we hand thread chase? Well, thread chasing can add some function as well as some artistry to some of your woodturning projects. Why do we do it? Well, for me it's all about the fun and the opportunity to make something really unique with my own hands. Okay, so what's thread chasing? Thread chasing is taking a thread chaser, a tool, and manipulating it to turn wonderful threads for boxes, urns on a hollow form, and any number of puzzles. There's just any number of things you can use threads for. But let me tell you, it's just so satisfying when you create something with threads. I'm not sure what in wood turning is as satisfying as a nice fitted threaded lid on a box. Now when it comes to thread pitches, most typical sizes are 10 threads per inch, 12 threads per inch, 16, and 20. These I've got Robert Sorby's in 20s and 16s and 10s. They all work fine depending on the project you're working on, but basically the 20 threads per inch have got the finest threads. They're very delicate, they're easier to cross thread. They're a little easier to learn on because they move a little slower, but the downside is you inevitably have to have what they call uranium-enriched wood, something like Bacote, Palo Santo, mountain mahogany, English boxwood. Very few domestic woods are you ever going to be successful with 20 threads per inch. The 16, I'd say, is your Goldilocks size. It's in the middle of the road. They're fairly easy to learn. They move a little bit faster than these, but not nearly as fast as the 10 threads per inch. And they cut a reasonable size thread that will hold threads fairly well for most small and medium-sized projects. Now the next choice, the 10 threads per inch, I find they move the fastest. They have the coarsest threads. Because they move so fast, they're a little more difficult to learn, and in many instances the threads tend to look rather industrial on smaller projects. Aesthetically, it's just not as pleasing as a 16 or even 12 thread per inch. Let me give you an example of the difference in the appearance of thread sides between a 10 and a 12. This is a recent dogwood box I made with 12 TPI, and here's one I did in 10 TPI sometime back. Let me give you a close-up to show you the difference. That I feel like the 10 thread per inch just seems to be coarser and more industrial looking. Now, it does hold up real well, but appearance sometimes is important. Where the 12 will work with fairly small boxes as well as larger boxes. Now, while I'm talking about these in general, my one dig about Robert Sorby there is that the handles are just way too large. Compare that handle size with the crowns, for example. Just much larger. This is a much more practical size because that's all you're going to do. You're going to choke up on it. You just don't need all that extra wood getting in the way. So much so that I took my 10 threads per inch and replaced the handles to make them shorter and a better design. The other option is, and you get the cool factor, is the Carter & Sons, and they come in two sizes. The Carter & Son comes in 16 threads per inch and 12 threads per inch. 12 is not a bad size, but I'd probably recommend the 16 for most people getting started. Now, there's several things I really like about the Carter & Son besides the cool factor, this fancy handle. I like the one-piece design because it's less to keep up with than two. Easier to pack, easier to carry, easier to flip it over and use the other side when you work on a project instead of having to set one tool down and get another. The other thing I like about it uses the same M42 steel they use on all their other turning tools, which is much harder than high-speed steel on the others, so it holds an edge very well, which I really like. Other things I like about it, they've gone to the trouble of designing the shape and the profile. Most male thread chasers have profiles that look like this. This is Robert Sorby 10 threads per inch. This is a Crown 12. That is, they're just rectangular without any cutaway. When I got my first set of thread chasers, this Robert Sorby 16 thread per inch, I was advised, and my research indicated that if you cut it back some, it was a little easier to get into a confined space, or rather, when you're chasing it, to get it out more easily because you had a little more clearance room. So I adjusted this one. I did not adjust the others, and I managed just fine. But I would say I do like the profile of the Carter and Son whale tail, where they've got it cut away. It can't but help when you're getting in there, when you're coming in there real tight to pull it out, if you've got a little more clearance and don't have as much that you're likely to bump or rub that shoulder with. Now, when it comes to the interior, I'm not sure that it's significant. Most of them are cut back just a slight bit. Here's the Robert Sorby. Here's the crown with the clearance just cut in. Here's the Mark St. Ledger version that's cut in a little bit, and the female Carter and Son has got a little more clearance, but I don't think you need quite as much clearance on the interior cutter as you do having that cutaway or whale tail on the male. I can't stress enough the importance of wood on thread chasing. You don't always have to have expensive import exotic woods like this Palo Santo or Lignum vitae or Mopani or Chechen or Cocobolo. There are a number of domestic woods, like I mentioned before, that'll work fine, but you've got to work with them a little bit, and sometimes you might have a few more failures. So whether it's Osage orange or dogwood or Bradford pear or any fruit tree such as plum, these are all examples of ones that have worked. So if you plan on getting into thread chasing, don't have your thread chasers, I definitely recommend the Carter and Sons thread chasers, both 16 TPI, good starter, and 12 TPI if you want something a little bit coarser. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please click the like button, subscribe so you don't miss future videos. I'm going to have a future video on wood for thread chasing because that is such a critical component of your success. I'm also going to have a separate video on ancillary tools used for thread chasing, whether it's an arm rest, recess tool, inside out tool, or a point tool. So y'all be sure to come stay tuned for those. And remember, y'all stay safe. Come on back, you hear?